Hello everyone, welcome back to Angela's Craft Room. Today I've come to you with this acetate panel card, and I've had a few requests to ask how I actually put the card together and got the panel so it's only showing through the acetate, and then when they open it, and you've still got plenty of room to write inside, but just a few different techniques I've used on this one, and I'm going to do a few things a little bit differently in stamping the grass in this one, but we'll just go ahead and you'll get the gist of it, like what you need to do. So to start off with, you need a piece of cardstock which is 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. Now you can use whisper white, or you can use shimmery white, or something like that, and then you're going to obviously fold your card on the scored line and burnish it. So I've gone one step further with mine, if I could find my bone folder. And so you've done that, right? Then on the front of your card, what you need to do is cut 2 inches off of here. Now, out of that 2-inch strip that is left, you need to cut it down to 1 1/8. So it'll be 1 1/8 wide, and it'll be 5.5 inches long. So it's going to fit perfectly on that side, and then we're going to have the acetate down the middle. But what I wanted to do first, because before I had it all together and then I stamped the grass, and I just think it's easier if we do that first. So I'm just going to open up the card like so. Now the stamp set that I'm using today is Wetlands. Is that one. We're going to be using the grass, going to be using thank you for your kindness, and obviously the geese we're going to be using. So it is a really good stamp set for sympathy and also birthdays, but it does make a really good mail card, which I know we all struggle with mails cards, that is. Now this is the grass stamp, so I'm just going to bring in my early espresso. Now I'm just going to take my ink pad to the stamp and stamp it rather than the other way round, because then I can see that I'm getting a good coverage. And if I do get a little bit of ink on the side there, I just get a cotton bud so it doesn't transfer to your card. Those that watch my tutorials all the time know that this is my general practice, that I always use my cotton buds. So this is I'm going to stamp a little bit. I might stamp high here and then I'll go a bit lower there. So I'm just going to stamp it straight down there. So I've stamped it a little bit off the card, you can see. And then we'll just stamp it up a bit again. It's just last time I made the whole card and then I stamped it, and it was just a bit tricky with the geese there, and I just think it's a lot easier if you stamp your grass first. So then I'll just come down and then we've got the grass done on that side. Now if you wanted to, so you could do a little bit of second stamping or stamping off, because we've still got a little bit of ink on there. You could, so it makes it look like it's got a bit of grass in the background. Like that. Okay, that's whether you like that or not, that's up to you. I don't mind it. Now I'm going to have my piece that's going to be on this side. I want to stamp the grass about the same height. So just a little bit of ink on. This is very juicy stamp, so I'm hardly having to touch it. That's why I'm having a bit of trouble with the ink being on the ink pad. On the stamp, I should say. So I want it to be most probably about there, and then I'm going to stamp again without re-inking, so it's about there. Okay, so then that gives us that part. Now, while we've got it there, what I'm going to do is take a pencil, and on this side I'm just going to, we can erase this afterwards, just put a couple of dots, so I need to know where my panel sponging needs to go. And then I'm just going to turn it round, and then I'm going to make sure this is right flush on the edge. And I'm going to do the same, just put some dots of pencil, and I'll explain further as we go on why I need to do this. So I need to know where my panel needs to be sponged inside. Okay, and now we've done that, we're going to take our acetate, which is a window sheet. You can buy them from Stamping Up. They come in 12-inch by 12-inch size, and you just cut how much you want. So I do use them quite a bit. So then on the inside of your card here, we want to apply a piece of Terran tape, and I wouldn't recommend anything but Terran tape with the acetate. So we need that to go along there. So then I'm just going to grab my tweezers and just remove that top piece of film, so it's just glue there now. And then I'm just going to take my acetate and just take it so it's flush, and you can just sort of it's not going to want to come off now, but we'll keep going. So it's flush to the card. Just put that down. So then we have that much. Okay. It has gone down a bit crooked, but it's not going to want to come back up for me. No, it'll be alright. Okay, So then we need to put this piece, glue this piece down onto there. So then once again you add your tear and tape down this side, and just make sure it's the side that's going to be sitting on your dots, because I can just see the dots through there. So then we just remove that top piece. Get rid of that. Now what I do is I just put the top piece down. I don't even worry about where the acetate is, because I want it to be even on this edge here of my card. That is the most important thing. And then it will sit even then. So you've got your card with your window, and I find that's the easiest way to add your acetate. Now we're going to sponge that panel. So to do that, now comes into the point why I put dots. Now we need to mask, so I just use sticky notes, and I'm just going to line my card up so I can use the lines on my grid paper as an example. Now I just want to put it down a little bit this side of the dots, okay, because when I close it I can see a little bit of pink. I need to move it, because you don't want to see any of that pink. Okay, so then we take another piece, just line that up, just make sure it's even with your other piece of sticky notes, and just down like that. I can see a little bit of pink, not too much. Most probably wouldn't have mattered that much, but you don't want to see any of that pink through your panel. Okay, so that's why we did the dots. Now this side gets a bit trickier because the sticky note's going to be too long this way to fit in the card. So all I do is just tear a piece of it off, and then I'm just going to go this side of the dots that we made. Doesn't matter, I can see it up here as long as I can't see it inside. So then we just tear that off. So I'm just going to have that panel. Just going to line that up. Hopefully my head's not in your way. Trying very hard for it not to be. So I want the panel to be straight. So I just check. That's alright. I only see very minimally, I can just see the pink there, but that's all good. So that's how we mask, and now we're going to do our sponging. Okay, so we don't need the early espresso. So to start with, we're going to use some pear pizzazz. And just make sure I'm doing the bottom of the card. So I'm just going to Now I'm just going to go off on the sticky note. And it's just going to, shouldn't take too long to sponge because it's just a panel. It's not my normal sponging that I do, but everyone that knows me by I'm pretty pedantic with my sponging, and I didn't go on, I went straight onto the cardstock then now, so now I'm going to have to fix that a bit, but it's alright, it'll be okay. It's mainly to show you how I do this technique. So I'm just going to, I might even add a little bit of old olive so that to get rid of that blob, that I'll just add a bit more of this and see whether we can smooth that out. I do a lot of sponging and I don't normally do it this fast, and that's what I get making a mistake and not thinking what I was doing. So that's, I think I've pretty much fixed that area though. And then I'm just going to get a little bit of old olive and just do the very bottom down here. It's a lot darker, but just in the reeds of the grass it would be a lot darker down there. Then I'm just going to grab, so I'm just going to change my sponge and go to Pool Party, and I'll sponge that from the top, trying not to get any ink. See, this one is quite juicy, this ink pad, so I want it to be a lot darker up the top. So it's just a matter of adding the colour till you're happy with the card. And you want to go a little bit down into the green area, just so that it blends . And you don't want that sticky note to come up. I've just got one edge that's just adamantly insisting on coming up. So I'm just trying to blend a little bit of the blue down there. which is coming up quite nicely. And it does give a really nice effect to your card. So I could fiddle with it, but I'm not going to because of the time. So I'll just move these colours out of the way for now. So now we're just going to remove our sticky notes, and you can see how effective that panel is. It's really effective, and then when it's closed like that, and then when it's opened like that. So just inside here, I just want to grab my grass and my early espresso, and I'm just going to stamp on this side. I think I'll just see how I go. So just inking up the ink pad. Just don't know how I'd survive without my cotton buds. Then I'm just going to go about there. So it's continued on inside, and I'll do a little bit of seconds. And I think I will do the other side because it will just finish it off nicely inside your card. So I'm just going to go about there. So I'm stamping a bit off at the bottom, and then I'm going to come in and second stamp on there like that. And if you wanted to go right over to the edge there of the fold of your card, you could. Just don't re-ink it, and it will just give you the effect that there's a few layers behind there, and I quite like that more than the original one that I did. So that's that part. Now the geese. Now we've already stamped our grass, which was a big help. Now with your geese, you just need to have some scrap piece of Whisper White, and you need to stamp out your geese and then fussy cut them out. So I didn't want to do that on camera for time. So what I did was, I've done the first one, and I'll show you how I sponged this hem. So with the first one, I fussy cut his little legs because they're very fine. So, and then I just added a little pearl for his eye. Okay, so, and then I've added dimensionals on the back. So because he's going to be standing up, I want him to be, because I've got to be able to put the other one more down. Just put him there lightly in case I want to move him. No, he looks pretty good there. So then what I did was, I've cut the second one out, but I didn't worry about cutting his legs because he's going to be sitting in the grass. So just using some crumb cake, and these little daubers are fabulous that you can get from Stampin' Up. You just pop them on the end of your finger. When you've finished using them, you just rinse them out and put them out to dry, and they'll just last forever. So I've got crumb cake, so I'm just going to go round. I did the first one in early espresso, so I just mainly go round the outside first. So this one's going to be a bit lighter than the first one that I did off camera. I used early espresso. So what I find is when I get to that point, because his neck and that's so narrow, you just need to put him down a little bit. And you can put as much ink on him as you want. I mean, you wouldn't want to leave him white. It wouldn't look. Needs some definition. And the artist has put where the feathers are there, so I just would make that a little bit darker. And then when you've hardly got any ink on the dauber, I just go over to where it's still white and I'm just sponging that. So I just want that a bit darker on his leaves. That. Let's make his head a bit darker. So I could fiddle with it, but I won't. So we'll just get rid of that. And then at this point is when you would want to put his rhinestone in for his eye. So, little pearl. So I just see how fast this glue is going to run out, because I only want the tiniest drop of that fine tip glue, and a little bit too much has come out, so I'll just soak that up. Then I'll just grab my tweezers, and it's just the tiniest pearl, and these are adhesive pearls, but when I'm doing something like this, I just like to put a little bit of fine tip glue underneath, and it's got a really good needle, if you can see that this never blocks, and it will last for months and months and months. I can just get it back in there. There we go. And I think it's fabulous, because it just, and it's really good for when you're adhering sequins to your cards as well. Okay, so then we need to put some dimensionals on the back of him. And what I find, and I don't like using my really good Stampin' Up paper snips because I don't like getting glue on them. This is just a pair of old crafting scissors I've got, and I use them when I'm wanting to cut glue. So you sort of just gotta, you need some on his body, definitely, and then even if you cut like on the dimensionals down the bottom, that piece is stuck, we might as well use that piece. Which I think it's going to be a bit thick, so I might put it towards his tail. It's not going to show. But what I was saying before, right down the bottom, like you never throw, like when you use all your dimensionals, don't throw these bits out that are on the on the edge, because they just come in so handy when you just need a real little piece of dimensional, which I do, because I'm just going to put that little bit on his head. And just pull that off. And I've got a piece here that came off with it. Just when you want a little piece, like I don't even know if I'll be able to get narrow enough, but just a little piece to support his neck. Stampin' Up have brought out the foam strips, which are fantastic for shaker cards, but they're just too thick for this sort of work. So you just have to, because you don't want to be able to see that on the other side. So I think he's sticking to me like anything, so I'm sure that's all right. And then I'm just going to nestle him so he's a little bit different colour, which I reckon adds a bit more effect to your card. So I might even I'm going to put him like a little bit over the top of the other one, so it looks like he's sitting down and the other one's standing up, like that. Okay, and then just like that. You could add some Winker Stella or something like that if you wanted to. Now I like to open out my card, and I just want to stamp the sentiment, and I'm going to do that in espresso, early espresso, which I think I'll bring. So there's just a really fine little bit of ink there, which I don't want transferring to the card. Then just line him up. I just line it up on one of the grid lines. And just going to stamp that there. Try not to rock it. So I've got that one on there. Thank you for your kindness. So yeah, so I hope that helps you to know how I did create this first card. I'll just take that terribly inked up piece. So I really hope that you do try using these different techniques. It's quite a few different techniques, and another one I did do with this original card was I stamped it up after I sponged it with the dauber. I sponged it all up with Versamark ink and then put clear embossing powder on it and then heat to set, and that you may see that these two look a bit more glossier than these two, and that's why. But today I thought I've done the grass a bit differently, and I do prefer the grass on this one to this one. Prefer it coming right across. And then this one I just did a little bit of grass inside, and then this one I did the grass, which I prefer how I've done the grass on this with the stamping off method. So I hope that gives you an idea of how I created this card, and I just like to thank you for everyone that has subscribed to my channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It encourages me to do more tutorials for you, and I'd just like to thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. Until next time, happy crafting!